decadent cake. I wish I had a decadent cake to share with everyone. I have mini muffins because I'm just here in a little box by myself. But thank you everybody for joining us for season 4 of our Morning Book Buzz. We're so excited to be together, even if virtually. I'm Jennifer Rubins.
I'm Sharnell Johnson.
I'm Miriam Tuliao.
Woohoo! Everyone make a book wish. And if you want to tell us all in the chat what your book wish is, blow out our candle and give us a ring and tell us, or you could share at PRH Morning Buzz. That's our hashtag. And we're going to share some books with you today that maybe will become your new most coveted book wish. But I'm sure you've had lots to think about since we've last been together because it's been a couple of months. And before we dive into the books, I think many of you may know this, but we wanted to make sure that you're aware of all the many formats that our books are available in, from hardcover to trade paperback to large print. Thank you to everyone who's been speaking up about that. Please, we can call it out, but we definitely are alerting you to those as well. Ebooks, e-galleys, which I always say is the most fun because that's where you can get involved right away and make sure you request what we're talking about. And then, of course, my beloved audio formats. DN is for audio download and CD is for compact disc. And, you know, I'm so glad to be together with everyone virtually. I was so thrilled to be together with many of you. I'm not sure if anyone listening today was at LiveLearnX in New Orleans, or if you were just tuning in, which was so amazing that it was available to tune in live to the announcements just this past weekend. But we are so thrilled for our 2 Andrew Carnegie Medal winners for excellence in fiction and nonfiction. So congratulations to Ed Yong for An Immense World and to Julie Otsuka for The Swimmers. We're just so honored to have their books on our list, and we hope that they're on all of your library shelves in all formats, and we'll send extra information around at the end if you need to catch up with any of those ISBNs and check the high holds, I'm sure, that are racking up at your library due to these great honors.
Enter to win. One lucky winner will receive all of the books that you see on your screen. Yes, that is Spare by Prince Harry. And yes, that is Emily Henry's Happy Place, which is amazing. Visit the link on your screen to learn more and to enter.
Harry is looking at you and he's telling you to enter. You can tell
that you
it's
have
in his
to,
eyes.
yeah.
Don't miss out.
Oh, it's a new year. So what better time is there to try out some new recipes? From cheese plates to vegan dishes, our list of cookbooks is sure to get some creative juices flowing. Find out more by following the link on the screen.
And woohoo, it's been, I cannot believe it. Can you believe it, Miriam? And Sharnell, can you believe it's been 10 years of all of your amazing votes? Thank you to all of the librarians who so diligently read every month and tell us what you're loving the most so that all of your patrons can be in the know as much as you are about all of the greatest reads that are coming out. So it's been 10 years. I remember the first one when I was a child, when Library Reads first began. Miriam, do you want to speak at all about this wonderful milestone?
Just a big, big thank you to all of the library staff that have made this possible. You've brought in the reading community across the states and beyond, and it's such a meaningful project.
And to honor all that you've done, we want to make sure that we're showcasing some of the many amazing library reads picks from over the past decade by genre to hopefully make it a little bit easier for you to take in, because there are so many amazing reads on this list when you look at all 10 years. So I hope that you'll follow us to our URL there on the screen to find more favorite book club picks and perhaps resurface some really beloved gems that your patrons might not know about from years ago. And then just yesterday, there was amazing news on Good Morning America. We want to make sure you're aware of this incredible debut, River Sing Me Home. It's the February book club pick for Good Morning America. You can watch the announcement And we're thrilled that this is getting the extra attention that it deserves. And look at that gorgeous cover, my goodness.
And for those of you that are attending the 4th National Joint Council of Librarians of Color conference next week, you're in for a treat. Authors Rachel Cargill, Valerie Burns, and Mia Manansala are special guest speakers, and we encourage you to visit our booths, 31 and 32, for galleys, giveaways, and library read swag and more.
And we have some really fun upcoming virtual events. I'm thrilled to be doing the Amazing Audiobooks webinar that's happening on Tuesday, February 28th. So please be sure to register. You can register there. It's on your screen, tinyurl.com/Feb book list audio webinar. But we'll also send these out after the presentation today. But I hope you'll join me in celebrating lots of amazing audiobooks later this month.
And on February 23rd, we're co-hosting an In the Know event with our partners Overdrive and presenting in books from small presses. Our colleagues from Charlesbridge, Quirk, Tundra, Holiday House, and Astra for young readers will highlight their spring titles for kids and teens.
I spy
Also,
Narwhal. We're big fans of Narwhal in this house.
And also on March 9th, we have starting off the third season of Library Lunch and Learn. And we have a very inspiring library leader, Morgan Perry from Mid-Continent Public Library in Missouri, who will be speaking about community outreach and equity in entrepreneurship. Also, guest author Kevin Carter will be speaking about anticipating and addressing resistance from his forthcoming book, Racial Justice at Work, Practical Solutions for Systemic Change.
And I can't believe it, but the Spring and Book and Author Fest is almost here. Join us along with Library Journal and School Library Journal for a free day of author panels, interviews, and more. To register, go to tinyurl.com/B&A-Fest 2023.
Sharnell, you know the Into the Woods soundtrack's going through my head again. We can't make enough. We want to go to the festival jokes all the time, but we do want to go to the festival, and we hope you do too. And before we kick off this very important category with amazing books, we just thought we would do a little, because it's our first time back, a pop quiz. Woohoo! So I want to know, what are you two reading, or what have you been loving since we've last been together virtually in this wonderful book buzz format?
Well, I just joined a book club, and the majority of the books that we've read so far are wonderful Penguin Random House titles. So I'm like, oh yeah, let's do that. But we just read The Impossible Us by Sarah Lotz, and we're about to start reading A Deadly Education. So I've never read anything by Naomi Novik, but I can say that The Impossible Us, it's such a great book. It is such a great book. You really, I don't know, I had to really think outside the box when I was reading it. So no wonder it's great for, book clubs. And I think we actually have a book club kit for that on Issue, which we did not use, but I'll be more upon it next time. Yeah.
Librarians don't make that mistake. That's awesome. I'm so glad to hear that it was such a good book club pick.
Yeah.
And I'm reading 2 books with blue covers. Polar Exposure is one that combines science, travel, and exploration. It's about the 2018 North Pole expedition, where 10 women from 10 different countries brave the elements on an expedition to the North Pole, and they are basically skiing their way across an Arctic pack of ice. And my other title that I've been slowly reading is the January 6th report, which, as you know, has the findings of the Select Committee to investigate the attack on the U.S. Capitol in 2021.
And I'm reading something a little bit different than that. I'm reading Happy Place, which I have to say really made my flight better recently. I hadn't been on a flight in a long time. And I was so thrilled to have it be to be with librarians, but this really made the flight so much better, I have to say. So it really made it much more of a happy place. And I'm just loving it. And then I'm also listening to Spare by Prince Harry, which I see many people in the chat are also listening to and reading as well. So thanks. Please, everyone, feel free to tell us. It's a pop quiz for everyone. Tell us what you're listening to or what you're reading. We love to hear it. We love to share. And that's what makes this all so much fun to be together. And now we'll present you with some books that you probably haven't read or listened to yet, but we hope you'll be adding to your lists. And of course, we're celebrating Black History Month. And I'm really thrilled to kick off this slide with a photography book, which I think is something we don't often have in this buzz, but it's such a beautiful book to have in your libraries. I think it's going to be such a treasure for people to be able to check out. And many might already be familiar with this incredible website and really interactive experience, Black Archives. So to just step back for 1 second and give you a little bit of an overarching idea of what this is about. This is a photographic celebration and exploration of Black identity and experience through the 20th century from the founder and curator of the hit multimedia platform, Black Archives. And her name is Renata Schrelisse. And her family loved capturing their lives in photographs and home movies. You can see many of them that she shares on her social platforms and on her website. And it really sparked her love of archival photography. And so following in her family's footsteps, she established this incredible website called Black Archives, which presents a nuanced representation of Black people across time living vibrant, ordinary lives. And so it really evolved from what started as a photo-based website of visual narratives into a collaborative platform. And it features archival histories and modern day stories from across so many families and all over the world. And through this platform, many have discovered and shared images of themselves and their loved ones experiencing daily life. And so it just feels so wonderful to be able to then hand a patron this book and let them continue enjoying these stunning collections and images. And this book features more than 300 images that spotlight the iconic and the candid. It offers a nuanced compendium of Black memory and imagination. And we really hope that you'll check it out.
And up next, we have The Kneeling Man by Letta McCullough Zelinsky, which is the intimate and heartbreaking story of a Black undercover police officer who famously kneeled by the assassinated Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and a daughter's quest for the truth about her father. In the famous photograph, the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. on the balcony of the Memphis Lorraine Motel, one man kneeled down beside him, trying to staunch the blood from his fatal head wound with a towel. The kneeling man was a member of the Invaders, an activist group that was in talks with King in the days leading up to his murder. But he was also he also had another identity, which was an undercover Memphis police officer reporting on the activities of this group, which was thought to be possibly dangerous and potentially violent. The kneeling man is Letta McCullough Zelinsky's father. Merrill McCullough was a Black man working secretly with the white power structure, a spy. This was so far from her understanding of what it meant to be Black in America, of everything she eventually devoted her life and her career to, that she set out to learn what she could about his life, his actions, and his motivations. But with that decision came risk. What would she uncover about her father, who went on to a career at the CIA, and did she want to bear the weight of knowing? I am so excited to read this book. It just sounds so fascinating to me.
It really does. I can't believe she didn't know so
Right.
much of the story till she started uncovering it and writing this. It's so
Yep.
haunting to think that that could, exist within your family, and also in such a famous way, and in such a way that
Yes.
so many people have also witnessed. It's incredible. Well, now I'm very excited to present Wildflower to you. This is a memoir of struggle and perseverance, and we hope it offers new ways of envisioning economic equality for everyone. And this comes from a leading activist and a fashion pioneer named Aurora James. And she wants to tell you that her story is not a success story, or at least it shouldn't be told that way. Having dropped out of high school, struggled with body image, and dabbled in street racing, her eventual arrest might have been her rock bottom. But as a visionary and optimist, that experience became one of many that reshaped her way of thinking about the world. And so, after a brief modeling stint, James discovered the real power in creating for the runway. And she started her own business in a flea market, a sustainable fashion line showcasing traditional African design. And that would become an award winning international brand. And then she also founded, and you may have heard of this, and if you haven't, then you're hearing about it today. She founded one of the fastest growing social justice nonprofits, the 15% Pledge. And none of this came from a desire to succeed, as she puts in quotes. It came from a desire to forge a new creative path and to lift others up alongside her. So this is really an incredible memoir. She's a rising star in fashion. She's the first Black American female designer to win a CFDA award. And she was inspired by the activism that swept the nation in the summer of 2020, which made her think bigger about how to empower Black business owners. And so that's what gave her the idea. And it started with an Instagram post. She founded the 15% Pledge, which challenges retailers to commit 15% of their shelf space and spending power to Black businesses. And to date, more than 24 of the world's most recognized retailers have taken the pledge, and they've redirected $10 billion in revenue to Black brands. So she's so inspiring. She's a rising star that many of you may have heard of already. She designed AOC's 2021 Met Gala dress. Her brand is worn regularly by many of the people we love to see what they're dressed in, from Beyonce to Meghan Markle to Rihanna to Serena Williams, Lady Gaga, many more. The list goes on. And this 15% pledge is so powerful, and so many big brands have taken this on. And so she's just really an inspiring person, and we hope you love learning more about her.
And our next title is Talk of Champions by two-time NBA superstar basketball commentator and host of the top-rated Inside the NBA, Kenny Smith. In this poignant and humorous memoir, he chronicles his playing and broadcasting careers while focusing on the star players, the coaches and mentors who inspired him along the way. Everyone from Michael Jordan, Shaquille O'Neal, Charles Barkley, Kobe Bryant, as well as his legendary University of North Carolina coach, Dean Smith, and his parents and family. In Talk of Champions, Smith offers a candid glimpse inside the rarefied world of elite sports and broadcasting, while offering a deeply personal perspective on race, basketball, and life. Our next title, A Renaissance of Our Own, is written by the highly lauded lecturer, academic, writer, and activist Rachel Elizabeth Cargill. Here she details the seminal event that put her on the national map, her viral 2017 Women's March appearance that thrust her into the national conversation on feminism and allyship. In this book, she shares her journey depicting a framework for allyship and beyond that developed along the way, and using her tools of KEA, that is knowledge, empathy, and action. That is, she calls it from the head to the heart to the feet, as well as her higher values. Cargill reimagines her approach to the personal, societal, and structural components of life that are often stifled. She provides the same tools and prompts, offering anyone and anyone can wield to identify the structures and mindsets that hold them back, and to move forward. This is a book for readers of how to be an anti-racist, um, hood feminism, and white fragility. It serves as a reminder of the power and the possibility of reimagining, to be an engine for critical learning, radical empathizing, intentional action, and centering higher values.
And then we have The Wreck, which is equal parts investigative and deeply introspective. It's a profound memoir about recognizing the echoes of history within ourselves and the alchemy of turning inherited grief into renewal. There is a secret that young Cassandra Jackson doesn't know, and it's evident in the way her father cries her name out in his sleep. Through awkward encounters with family, she comes to realize that she is named after her father's niece and looks eerily like the child's mother, both of whom were killed in a car wreck along with her father's beloved mother. And she soon discovers his first wife. Cassandra learns to keep silent about the wreck, but soon learns there is no way to outpace her claw like grip of her family's past trauma. In this luminous memoir, Jackson attempts to unearth her lost family while also creating a new one, only to discover little progress separates the past from the present. As she moves back and forth between her girlhood and her journey to motherhood, Jackson reveals the chilling parallels between the harrowing inhumanity of Jim Crow medical care and the toxic discrimination that undergirds healthcare in the United States today. But as she traces the cascading effects of uh, laws punctuated by racism, she also discovers a powerful legacy of fearless love and furious perseverance that she hopes to extend to a new generation. Lyrical, urgent, and wise, this is an unforgettable story of reclaiming the past to reclaim ourselves. It's another good one I can't wait to read. And now we have a few debuts that we are very excited about. And up first is Your Driver is Waiting by Priya Guns. In this electrifying, fierce, and funny social satire inspired by the iconic 1970s film Taxi Driver, a rideshare driver is barely holding it together on the hunt for love, dignity, and financial security until she decides she's done waiting. Damani is tired. Her father just died on the job at a fast food joint, and now she lives paycheck to paycheck in a basement, caring for her mother and driving for an app that constantly cuts her take. The city is roiling in protests. Everybody's in solidarity with somebody, but while she keeps hearing that they're fighting for change on behalf of people like her, she literally cannot afford to pay attention. Then she gives a ride to Jolene. Jolene seems like she could be the perfect girlfriend, attentive, attractive, an ally, and their chemistry is off the charts. Jolene's done the reading. She goes to every protest and she says all the right things. So maybe Damani can look past the one thing that's holding her back. She's never dated anyone with money before, not to mention a white girl with money. But just as their romance intensifies and Damani finally lets her guard down, Jolie does something unforgivable, setting off an explosive chain of events. A wild one sitting read brimming with dark humor and piercing social commentary and announcing Priya Gun's feverishly original voice. Your Driver is Waiting is a crackling send up of our culture of modern alienation.
It sounds so exciting. And I think with these debuts, satire seems to be a little bit of a theme here because this next one has quite a bit of a satirical angle as well. So I don't know if anyone here has stopped by their favorite beauty store lately, but after reading Natural Beauty, you might think about stepping into that familiar world a little bit differently. This really takes the idea of wellness and beauty stores and turns it on its head, and it explores questions of consumerism, self-worth, race, and identity in what I think is a satire, horror, and thriller novel all rolled into one. So in this darkly funny debut, we meet an unnamed narrator. She's a virtuoso pianist who produces a sound from the piano that no one else does. But then an accident unfortunately leaves her parents debilitated. And so she abandons her future as a musician and she accepts a job at a high-end beauty and wellness store in New York City called Holistic with a K. And it's known for its remarkable products, its outrageous procedures. Every product is, of course, ethically sourced and made with nothing but the highest quality ingredients. And so our narrator's new job is quite coveted, and it's, you know, she meets New York's beauty obsessed, and it affords her entry into this new world of privilege that she previously knew nothing about. And she also becomes transfixed by a woman named Helen, who's a model and the niece of Holistic's charismatic owner. And they strike up a close friendship that hazily veers into something more. All the while, Holistic is getting our narrator full of these products that slim her thighs and smooth her skin and lighten her hair and change her eye color. But beneath these fancy creams and tinctures lies a terrible truth that threatens to consume her. After all, beauty is nothing without ugliness. So if that hasn't piqued your interest, I don't know what will, but it certainly has made me think about those worlds in quite a different way. And there is a dark side that this brilliant debut author, Ling Ling Huang, explores. So I hope you read it and enjoy it as well.
Yeah, I think I'm adding that one to my list too. Next we have We Are a Haunting by Tyreek White. Um, a poignant debut for readers of Jesmyn Ward and Jamel Brinkley. We Are a Haunting follows 3 generations of a working class family and their inherited ghosts, a story of hope and transformation. In 1980s Brooklyn, Key is enchanted with her world, glowing with her dreams. A charming and tender doula serving the Black women of her East New York neighborhood, she lives like her mother among the departed and speaks to and for them. Her untimely death leaves behind her mother, Audrey, who is on the verge of losing the public housing apartment they once shared. Holly, Key's grieving son, soon learns that he too has inherited this sacred gift and begins to slip into the liminal space between the living and the dead on his journey to self realization. In the present, an expulsion from school forces Kali across town, where, feeling increasingly detached and disenchanted with the condition of his community, he begins to realize that he must ultimately be accountable to the place he is from. After college, having forged an understanding of friendship, kinship, community, and how to foster love in places where it seems impossible, Kali returns to East New York to work toward addressing structural neglect and the crumbling blocks of New York City public housing he was born to, discovering a collective path forward from the wreckages of the past. A supernatural family saga, a searing social critique, and a lyrical and potent account of displaced lives, We Are Haunting unravels the threads connecting the past, present, and future, and depicts the palpable breathing essence of the neglected corridors of a pulsing city with pathos and poise.
Next, we have The Three of Us, which is a highly anticipated debut by a British Nigerian writer, Ore Agbaji Williams. And this is a novel that you can recommend to fans of Such a Fun Age and My Sister, the Serial Killer. Long-standing tensions between a husband, his wife, and her best friend finally come to a breaking point in this sharp domestic comedy of manners told brilliantly over the course of one day. What if the two most important people in your life hated each other with a passion? The wife has it all, a big house in a nice neighborhood, an irreverent friend with whom to laugh about superficial men, and an affectionate husband who loves her above all else. The only thing missing from this portrait is a baby. But motherhood is a serious undertaking, especially for the wife who has valued her selfhood above anything. On a seemingly normal day, the best friend comes over to spend a lazy afternoon with the wife. But when the husband comes home and a series of confessions are made that threaten to throw everything off balance, the wife's two confidants are suddenly forced to jockey for their positions. This is a submersively comical, widely astute, and a short novel that packs a knockout punch. It's certainly perfect for a book club. And our esteemed colleague from Cuyahoga County Public Library, Ron Block, says that the three of us is brilliantly constructed.
And she was also at our PRH Book and Author Festival, so we can also include the link to that wonderful panel in our wrap up as well.
Yes, absolutely. And our next title, Dances, is for fans of Brandon Taylor's Real Life and Megan Abbott's The Turnout. This is a provocative and lyrical debut novel that follows a trailblazing Black ballerina who must reconcile the ever-rising stakes of her grueling career. 22-year-old Cece Cordell reaches the pinnacle of her career as the ballet. She's instantly catapulted into celebrity, inspirational role as the first Black ballerina in the famed company's history. But even as she celebrates the achievement of this lifelong dream, she remains haunted by the feeling that she doesn't belong. And as she waits for some feeling of rightness that doesn't arrive, she begins to unravel the loose threads of her past. An absent father, a pragmatic mother who dismisses her ambitions, a missing older brother who stoked her childhood love of ballet but disappeared to deal with his own demons. Written with spellbinding beauty and ballet's precise structure, dances centers women, art, power, and how we come to define freedom for ourselves.
And finally, on this debut slide, if you're wondering what to recommend next to your patrons who just love charming novels with unconventional heroines, so think Lessons in Chemistry or Where'd You Go, Bernadette, or Eleanor Oliphant is completely fine, then we have the next book that you want to recommend to all of these readers called The Second Ending by Michelle Hoffman. And this is a wonderful story about a former prodigy who refuses to believe that her best years are behind her, and a young virtuoso who's searching for his passion. And they both get an unlikely shot at their dreams, and they get a second chance. And I love the opening line to this presentation. Prudence Childs was once the most famous kindergartner on the planet, which makes me laugh as I also have a kindergartner. And the thought of that is just hilarious to me. But the reason Prudence Childs was once the most famous kindergartner on the planet was because after teaching herself to play piano at age 3, she performed at the White House, she appeared on talk shows, she inspired a generation of children to take up lessons. But then as adolescence closed in, she began to see that she was just another exploited child star, that she'd been pushed into fame, and she ran away from performing, she ran away from the greed of the adults around her. And as soon as she was old enough to vote, she just was off doing her own thing, writing commercial jingles. She earned a fortune, but she was creatively left adrift. And so now she's 48, her daughters are away at school, and she's determined to reconnect with the artist who she once was. And she agrees to compete on a wildly popular dueling pianos TV show. But now having the spotlight cast on her, it captures the attention of her terrible ex-husband, and he uses the opportunity to blackmail her over a secret that she thought she'd buried in the past. And so if she doesn't win, she won't just be a musical failure, she'll also be bankrupted and exposed in front of millions. And then if that's not enough, we also meet her on-air rival, a virtuoso named Alexei Petrov, who's a stunning young internet sensation. He's got a massive audience, a dreamy accent, and he has problems of his own with overbearing parents And he's technically a flawless pianist, but he doesn't have friends or hobbies or any kind of life outside of his music. So we get these two great characters together. They're about to face off on stage. So we have the retired prodigy and the exhausted wonderkind, and they realize that this competition is their chance to prove that it's never too late to write a new ending. So I just love this idea. I love how escapist it feels with the musical angle to it. I think that it's going to be an uplifting choice for you to put in the hands of your readers. You don't have to love music to be enthralled by this world. I think it has so much relatable to it. I mean, how many of us have watched these musical competitions on TV and not really known perhaps the backstory of where people are coming from? And so it's just such a great book club read too. There's so much to discuss about their lives and their second chance at being the artists that they want to be, or figuring out who they are apart from that talent. And it's got a really quirky and lovable cast. So it's just going to be a delight. And we hope that you enjoy it as much as we do.
And if you're looking for more debuts, check out our debut fiction sampler. Such a beautiful cover. But you could check it out. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Go to tinyurl.com/debutsampler23. And then you can also find all of our other samplers at tinyurl.com/debutsamplerissue.
And we'll send the links out. So
Yes.
just make a
Yeah,
note
you
to
don't
look
have to
for
memorize.
those. No.
And now on to the mysteries and thrillers. This first book, How I'll Kill You by Ren DeStefano, is for readers of My Lovely Wife and The Luckiest Girl Alive, and fans of Dexter, Bad Sisters, and You. So it's right up my alley. Your next stay up all night thriller about identical triplets who have a nasty habit of killing their boyfriends, and what happens when the youngest commits their worst crime yet, falling in love with her Mark. An interesting family. Always the careful one, always the cautious one. She has handled the cleanup while her serial killer sisters have carved a path of carnage across the U.S. Now, as they arrive in the Arizona heat, Sissy must set up and embrace the family pastime of making a man fall in love and then murdering him. Her first target, a young widower named Edison, and their mutual attraction is instant. While their relationship progresses, and most couples would be thinking about picking out china patterns and moving in together, Sissy's family is reminding her to think about picking out burial sites and moving on. Then something happens that Sissy never anticipated. She begins to feel protective of Edison, and before she can help it, she's fallen in love. But the clock is ticking, and her sisters are growing restless. It becomes clear that the gravesite she chose will hide a body no matter what happens, but if she betrays her family, will it be hers? So exciting.
And someone in the chat has already loved this book. So thank you for
Oh,
sharing
good.
that. Carrie, she stayed up all night to finish it. So that is awesome to hear. We're so glad we're on the same page. And next up, I have another musically themed title. And I know I'm kind of preaching to some of the people who made Symphony of Secrets such a in-demand book in libraries. So thank you. It was just a year ago in February last year, a Library Reads pick. And so we're so excited that Brendan Slocum is back with Symphony of Secrets. So this is another gripping page turner that has music at its core. It's about a professor who uncovers a shocking secret about the most famous American composer of all time, that his music was stolen from a young Black composer named Josephine Reed. And determined to uncover the truth and right history's wrongs, Vern Hendricks will stop at nothing to finally give Josephine the recognition she deserves. So This takes us back and forth between 1920s Manhattan, where we meet Josephine Reed, who's living on the streets. She's frequenting jazz clubs, and she meets a struggling musician named Fred Delaney. But where young Delaney struggles, Josephine soars. She's a prodigy who hears beautiful music and the sounds of the world around her. So with Josephine as his silent partner, Delaney's career takes off. But who is the real genius here? And then in the present day, we meet Bern Hendricks, who has just received the call of the lifetime. He's one of the world's most preeminent experts on the famed 20th century composer, Frederick Delaney. And he thinks he knows everything there is to know about the man behind the music. But Mallory Roberts, who's a board member of the distinguished Delaney Foundation and a direct descendant of the man himself, she asks for Bern's help in authenticating a newly discovered piece. And it's a famous lost opera. And so Bern jumps at this chance, but then they begin to find more questions than answers, and they get caught in the crosshairs of a powerful organization who will stop at nothing to keep their secret hidden. So Bern is, caught in this quest to right history's wrongs. And I just think it's going to be another book that anyone who loved the Violin Conspiracy is going to have to put on their TBR list. We're just thrilled to have him back. And it's just the perfect follow-up. It has another character-driven story. It has elements of mystery. It has music. He's pulling back the curtain once again and giving us a glimpse into this rarefied world of classical music. And if you didn't know, which is wonderful to know, I think, is that the author himself is a talented musician in his own right. And he's also going to read a note on the audiobook. So you get to hear from him directly as well if you listen to it. And yeah, I just love those kinds of stories where the narrative bounces back and forth between like Roaring 20s New York City and then the modern day, and you get to kind of uncover the mystery and see both sides of it. So I think it's going to be just a really great book club list and so much to discuss here.
Next, we have The Ferryman by the #1 New York Times bestselling author of The Passage, Justin Cronin. And this is a novel for fans of sophisticated, speculative novels, everything from Station 11 to Exhalation. This is a riveting standalone novel about a group of survivors on a hidden island utopia where the truth isn't what it seems. Founded by the mysterious genius known as the Designer, the archipelago of Prospera lies hidden from the horrors of a deteriorating outside world. In this island paradise, Prospera's lucky citizens enjoy long, fulfilling lives until the monitors embedded in their forearms, meant to measure their physical health and psychological well-being, fall below 10%. Then they retire themselves, embarking on a ferry ride to the island known as the Nursery, where their failing bodies are renewed, their memories are wiped clean, and they are ready to restart life afresh. Proctor Bennett of the Department of Social Contracts has a satisfying career as a ferryman, gently shepherding people through the retirement process and, when necessary, enforcing it. But all is not well with Proctor. For one thing, he's been dreaming, which is supposed to be impossible in Prospera. For another, his monitored percentage has begun to drop alarmingly fast. And then comes the day when he's summoned to retire his own father, who gives him a disturbing cryptic message before being wrestled onto the ferry. Meanwhile, something is stirring. The support staff, ordinary men and women who provide the labor to keep Prospera running, have begun to question their place in the social order. Unrest is building, and there are rumors spreading of a resistance group known as the Arrivalists, who may be fomenting revolution. This is signature Cronin, world building, there are new themes, and certainly lots of twists. Here he tackles a lot of big issues that are facing us today, like privilege in society, technology, climate change, as well as the very emotional themes of love and loss.
And audio fans will be happy to know his longtime narrator, Scott Brick, will be returning to read The Ferryman.
And we have next The Senator's Wife, a novel by the author of The Last Parish and best-selling Reese's Book Club pick, Liv Constantine. This is the pen name of sisters Lynn Constantine and Valerie Constantine. Here, a DC philanthropist suspects that her seemingly perfect employee is actually secretly plotting to steal her husband. In this town, anyone is replaceable after a tragic chain of events led the deaths of their spouses 2 years ago. DC philanthropist Sloan Chase and Senator Whit Montgomery are finally starting to move on. The horrifying ordeal drew them together, and now they're ready to settle down with each other. As Sloan returns to the world of the White House dinners and political small talk, this time with her new husband, she's also preparing for an upcoming hip replacement, the latest reminder of the lupus she's managed since her 20s. With their hectic schedules, they decide that hiring a home health aide will give Sloan the support and independence she needs post-surgery. And they find the perfect fit in Athena Karas. Seemingly a godsend, Athena tends to Sloan and even helps her run her charitable foundation. But Sloan slowly begins to deteriorate, a complication Athena explains of Sloan's lupus. But as weeks go by, Sloan becomes sicker, and her uncertainty quickly turns to paranoia as she begins to suspect the worst. Why is Athena asking so many probing questions about her foundation as well as her past? And could Sloan be imagining the sultry looks between Athena and her new husband? Riveting, fast-paced, and full of unbelievable twists, The Senator's Wife is a psychological thriller that upends the private lives of those who walk the halls of power.
And then next up, I know I love seeing the chat, by the way. Thanks everyone for sharing your enthusiasm, because I know each of these books leaves us all like, oh my gosh, they're so incredible to take in. So I hope you're ready for another one, because Megan Abbott is back. You may recall her book, The Turnout, was a huge hit last, her last book. It was a Read with Jenna pick, and it was in many of the best book of the year roundups. And so this is perhaps her eeriest book yet. I mean, if that cover doesn't tell you that, I don't know it will. I didn't even notice that face at first, and then I was like, oh my God. So this is, of course, the New York Times bestselling and award-winning author Megan Abbott, and this is Eerie, and it's about a family outing that takes a terrifying turn. So hold on tight. You ready? Honey, I just want you to have everything you ever wanted. That's what JC's mom always told her. And JC always felt like she finally did. She was newly married, she had a baby on the way, and JC and her new husband, Jed, embark on their first road trip together to visit his father, Dr. Ash, in Michigan's far-flung Upper Peninsula. And the moment they arrive in the cozy cottage in the lush woods, JC feels bathed in love by the warm and hospitable Dr. Ash, if less so by his house manager, Mrs. Brandt. But then their first days take a turn, and JC has a health scare. And so very quickly their activities are scrapped. Everyone's worrying about her and checking on her condition. And then at the same time, people start whispering about Jed's long dead mother, and his complicated family history seems eerily to be impeding upon the present. And so as the days pass, JC begins to feel trapped in the cottage. Her every move is being surveilled. Her body's under the looking glass. But are her fears founded, or is it paranoia or cabin fever? Or, as is suggested to her, a stubborn refusal to take necessary precautions? The dense woods surrounding the cottage are full of dangers, but are the greatest ones inside. So I think there's been a lot of scary stories about cabins, even right now, cabins in the woods, knock at the cabin. This is, I think, a new take on the horrors of a cabin, with a story that we haven't read before. And I think that, you know, it leans a little bit more into the horror direction for Megan Abbott. This will be great to remind patrons about come Halloween as well. But it's also eerily timely in terms of, you know, perfect for book clubs, and how it dissects conversations about ownership and womanhood and, you know, the claim we have over our own bodies. These are really big conversations that really feed into her storyline as well. So I think, you know, this is fans of Gillian Flynn, Leanne Moriarty. This is, you know, I think Megan's becoming a household name for, you know, readers who love thrillers and horror novels and suspense. And this one is going to wow everyone. So don't miss it.
And last on this slide, we have a botanist's guide to flowers and fatality. Um, Brilliant botanist Saffron Everly is back and ready for adventure in Kate Kavari's next mesmerizing historical mystery. 1920s London isn't the ideal place for a brilliant woman with lofty ambitions, but research assistant Saffron Everly is determined to beat the odds in a male-dominated field at the University College of London. Saffron embarks on her first research study alongside the insufferably charming Dr. Michael Lee, traveling the countryside with him in response to reports of poisonings. But when Detective Inspector Green is given a case with a set of unusual clues, he asks for Saffron's assistance. The victims, all women, received bouquets filled with poisonous flowers. Digging deeper, Saffron discovers that the bouquets may be more than just unpleasant flowers. There may be a hidden message within them, revealed by the old Victorian practice of florography. A dire message indeed, as each woman who received the flowers has turned up dead. Alongside Dr. Lee and her best friend Elizabeth, Saffron uh, trails a group of suspects through a dark jazz club, a lavish country estate, and a glittering theater, delving deeper into a part of society she thought she'd left behind forever. Will Saffron be able to catch the killer before they send their next bouquet? Or will she find herself with fatal flowers of her own in Kate Kavari's second intoxicating installment?
I was complaining to you that I didn't have props, but Sharnell, you made me realize I did. It's not a bouquet and it's not poisonous, I hope, but you never know. We'll find out. I'll let you guys know. So now we have some book club picks, and who better to kick off this slide than one of our favorites and one of, I think, the biggest fans of librarians herself as an author, Lisa Scottolini. I feel like if she were here, she'd be like, oh my gosh, librarians, we love you. She, of course, did our recent book and author festival, and we always love having her talk to librarians and talk about her own books. And I wish she famously has a cardboard cutout of Bradley Cooper that was very active on social media this past week, if anyone was paying attention. So she really puts the pressure on to have good props during a book talk. So I need to get a cardboard cutout of somebody. But anyway, she is back on the list with Loyalty. We are so excited. This is emotional, it's action-packed, epic. It's about love and justice, and it's set during the rise of the mafia in Sicily. And of course, she's a #1 best-selling author, and she's introducing us this time to a character named Franco Fioravanti, and he's a handsome lemon grower who toils on the estate of a baron, and he dreams of owning his own grove, but the rigid class system of Sicily thwarts his ambition. So he's determined to secure a better future, and he'll do anything to prove his loyalty to the baron. But when the baron asks him to kidnap a little boy named Dante, Franco makes a decision that will change his life and even the history of Sicily forever. And we also meet Gaetano Catalano, who's an idealistic young lawyer whose devotion to justice is tantamount to a calling. He's a member of a real-life secret society of aristocrats who investigate crime in Palermo, a city riddled with graft. And he sets out to find the boy and punish the kidnapper, but his mission leads him to a darker place than he had ever imagined. So Lisa's known for doing such incredible research in bringing history to life, and then also adding mystery to it and drama. And so we're just going to be transported to the ruggedly beautiful island of Sicily. I feel like, especially with the popularity of White Lotus season 2, a lot of people are talking about Sicily and books that take you there, and this would be the perfect one to hand to patrons who want a little armchair travel in their life. Who doesn't? And we're going to go to the Mediterranean, to lush lemon groves, and also learn about the start of the mafia. It's thriller writing and historical fiction put together. So what could be better? You know, we just love Lisa Scottolini, and we know that you do too. So we hope you'll go on this trip to 19th century Sicily along with us and along with all of your book clubs. Oh, and I should say, I just have to add in that Eduardo Ballerini, the wonderful narrator, will be narrating Loyalty as well. Lisa wouldn't have it any other way, let me assure you, and neither would we. Oh, I'm the next one too. I'm like, why is it so quiet? I just blew everyone away with that description. We all had to sit with it for a minute. Okay, so next up, we have a new one from J. Ryan Straddle. Of course, this is his first book that I loved so much. It's still, I kept the galley, Kitchens of the Great Midwest. I love this one. And this is his third book, Saturday Night at the Lakeside Supper Club. And he also was at our recent Book and Author Festival, and we'll share that link as well if you missed getting to see him speak on a panel. But he's just wonderful. And you know, this is for readers who want something uplifting and something with great food descriptions, and it really takes us, you know, to a town where we feel like we get to know all of the neighbors and all of the family members. So this is great to hand to readers of Evie Drake Starts Over, or Frederick Bachman and Gabrielle Zevin, Jane Smiley. I mean, the list goes on of all the amazing authors that I think if they haven't yet met J. Ryan Straddle, they're going to want to add him to their list. So in this book, we meet a couple from two very different restaurant families in rustic Minnesota. And this is really about legacy and love and tragedy and what unites and divides us. So we meet Mariel Prager, who needs a break. Her husband, Ned, is having an identity crisis. Her beloved restaurant is bleeding money by the day, and her mother is stubbornly refusing to leave the church where she's been holed up for more than a week. So we're at the Lakeside Supper Club. It's been in her family for decades. And while Mariel's grandmother embraced the business and it was her saving grace, Florence never took to it. And so when Mariel inherited the restaurant and it skipped over Florence, that created a rift between mother and daughter that never quite healed. And then her husband, Ned, is also an heir to a chain of home-style diners. And he doesn't have a head for business. He knows his chain could provide a better future than his wife's fading restaurant. But in the aftermath of a devastating tragedy, and Ned and Mariel lose almost everything, they have to sort of figure out how to hang in the balance, and how can they rebuild despite their losses, and can the Lakeside Supper Club be their salvation? So this is colorful, it's about family, and then you get to also enjoy trays of brandy and old fashions. And J. Ryan Straddle really gives us his signature honesty and his lovable Midwestern characters and stories about love and loss and marriage. And it's just book club gold. And we can't wait for you to take a seat at the supper club.
And next we have The Golden Doves by Martha Hall Kelly. Two former female spies bound together by their past risk everything to hunt down an infamous Nazi doctor in the aftermath of World War II. It's an extraordinary novel inspired by true events from the New York Times bestselling author of Lilac Girls. American Josie Anderson and Parisian Arlette Leroux are thrilled to be working in the French resistance, stealing so many Nazi secrets that they become known as the Golden Doves, renowned across France and hunted by the Gestapo, sorry. Their courage will cost them everything. When they are finally arrested and taken to Ravensbrück concentration camp, along with their loved ones, a reclusive Nazi doctor does unspeakable things to Josie's mother, a celebrated Jewish singer who joined her daughter in Paris when the world seemed bright. And Arlette's son is stolen from her, never to be seen again. A decade later, the Doves fall headlong into a dangerous dual mission. Josie is working for U.S. Army intelligence and accepts an assignment to go hunt down the infamous doctor, while a mysterious man tells Arlette he may have found her son. The Golden Doves embark on a quest across Europe and ultimately to French Guiana, discovering a web of terrible secrets, and must put themselves in grave danger to finally secure justice and protect the ones they love. Martha Hall Kelly has garnered acclaim for her stunning combination of empathy and research into stories of women throughout history and for exploring the terrors of Ravensbrück. With the Golden Doves, she crafted an unforgettable story about the fates of Nazi fugitives in the wake of World War II and the unsung female spies who risked it all to bring them to justice.
And our next title is Chain Gang All Stars by bestselling author of Friday Black, Nana Kwame Adjei-Brenyah. This is a book that you can recommend to fans of Colson Whitehead, Marlon James, and Tommy Orange. And it's about two top women gladiators fighting for their freedom within a depraved private prison system. Loretta Thurwar and Hamara Hurricane Stacker are the stars of a chain gang all-stars, the cornerstone of CAPE, or Criminal Action Penal Entertainment, a highly popular, highly controversial, profit-raising program in America's increasingly dominant private prison industry. It's the return of the gladiators, and prisoners are competing for the ultimate prize, their freedom. Um, George Saunders, the best-selling author of Liberation Day and Lincoln in the Bardo, finds this book widely entertaining, formally bold, and politically electrifying. And for book clubs, there are sort of urgent hooks here. It's a genre-bending literary fiction, but it speaks to big topics such as racism, capitalism, and the criminal justice system. And our next title, The Guest, is by the best-selling author of The Girls, Emma Cline. This is a novel that's perfect for readers of Conversations with Friends, Little Friars Everywhere, and My Year of Rest and Relaxation. A young woman pretends to be someone she isn't in this novel. Summer is coming close to an end on the east end of Long Island, and Alex is no longer welcome. A misstep at a dinner party, and the older man she's been staying with dismisses her with a ride to the train station and a ticket back to the city. With few resources and a waterlogged phone, but gifted in the ability to navigate the desire of others, Alex stays on Long Island and drifts like a ghost through the hedged lanes, the gated driveways, and the sun-blasted dunes of a rarefied world that is at first closed to her. Propelled by desperation and a mutable sense of morality, she spends the week leading up to Labor Day, moving from one place to the next, a cipher leaving destruction in her wake. Taut, propulsive, and impossible to look away from, implies the guest achievement.
And then we have My Men by Victoria Killand. This is based on the true story of Norwegian maid Belle Gunness, 19th century America's most notorious serial killer with a body count of at least 14 men. My Men is a fictional account of one broken woman's descent into inescapable madness. It's a harrowing read about an enigmatic historical figure, Brynhilde Bell Gunness, a Norwegian servant girl turned serial killer after emigrating to America in the wake of a hopeless love affair at home. She thought she was following her sister to a better life, but what she found in America was a society ruled by the same rigid moral codes um, as she experienced at home. Consumed by desire and thirsty for the love and recognition she never received during her impoverished formative years, Belle seeks revenge on the world that broke her. As Belle racks up a body count of at least 14 men, she grows increasingly alienated, ruthless, and perversely compelling. Keeland writes urgently and thoughtfully about a broken person, one who yearns for liberation from the trappings of her class, gender, and traumatic past. My Men is a powerful and intense read where the turn to violence is barely noticeable, but when it happens, there's no coming back.
Wow. And of course, we have book club resources, as we've mentioned, and we'll send the links around in the wrap up. And then finally, to those who are left, I know we're going a little bit over, but I just had to fill you in that we have 2 new audiobook originals on our adult list. And I wanted to make sure you were in the know because they were just announced. So the first one is from Kate Winkler Dawson. She is a podcast powerhouse. So it makes so much sense that she would be the perfect author to write and read an audiobook original. This is called The Ghost Club, and she investigates the fascinating story of the supernatural and the club that united some of the world's most illustrious thinkers. I didn't know about this, but there was a real club that Arthur Conan Doyle and William Butler Yeats and many others gathered in. It was called the Ghost Club in London. And in the early 1900s, they would gather together, and there were well-known ghost hunters in the group. And this is just going to be fascinating history for people who love true crime, who love ghost stories, and who love Kate Winkler Dawson, who millions of people do. And so we're so thrilled to have her on our list. And then in a little bit of a change of pace, Conversations on Letting Go by Najwa Zebian. She has posted a call to her many fans on social media, asking them, what is the one thing holding you back? Is it a person? Is it an experience? Are you struggling with being stuck in a certain pattern? And she has an intention of getting her fans and readers and listeners to a point where we're living an authentic life. And she wants to guide us to let go and to live in a way where we can propel ourselves to a liberated life. And so this is going to be a really personal audiobook original that really speaks directly to her fans and answers their questions. And so I think this is a must for all of your digital audiobook collections. And she's, of course, the author of Welcome Home and has millions of followers and is just so she's such a calming voice too. It's just going to be wonderful to listen to her. And then finally, in audio land, I just had to say congratulations to our Odyssey honor. It was announced just this week. Jarrett J. Krasaska's fabulous Lunch Ladies series. We were so thrilled to bring this graphic novel to audio in a 2-for-1 special, the first helping books 1 and 2. It's read by Kate Flannery from The Office, who hopefully you know and love. She's hilarious, and the authors on this recording, and a full cast. So it's so deserving of all the awards. We're so excited and grateful to the committee who chose it. And we hope that if you've missed it, you go back and take a listen and share it with young listeners because it's really a special audiobook. And that's it, season 4. Woohoo! Make your wish, blow out your book candles, and we hope to see you next month in March. Thank you so much. This was really fun. Bye, everyone.